All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our latest episode of Studio Spotlight 9. I have my friend Stephanie Larrabee here. Stephanie, I feel like we've known each other for a little bit. I think prior to that, we probably knew of each other, but we're like, oh, not much interaction going on there. But I'd say the last year, like a bunch of interactions back and forth and, kind of all the different things that we do. But
Yeah.
we'll talk about what you do.
Yeah, because our interaction is when we're just hanging out doing fun things, right?
Yes.
So I am a natural health counselor. So I do a lot of things that are holistic and deal with wellness, as well as foot zoning and making my own herbal salves. So I like to play in the holistic world when I'm not playing in the sales world.
Right? I mean, I think we both played in the sales world a bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. So, like, what kind of got you going with, all the holistic health and everything that you're doing?
So I've always been fascinated by medical. When I was 18, I became a medical assistant. And then I became a mom, and that just makes things even more fascinating because you get everything thrown at you at that point. But the biggest thing is almost 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, so an autoimmune disease. And the interesting thing about those is not many doctors really know how to deal with that. It's a guessing game. 99% of the time, I've been to probably 8 different doctors in the last 20 years, just trying to get things under control.
Wow.
And so that's why I went holistic. So I'm like, well, if they don't know, I'm just as good as anybody else at this point.
Absolutely. Because I think that, you've heard my health stuff that's, occurred over the last several years. And while with what I've dealt with, I had to go the more traditional medical route in what I, experienced. But what I've learned in it is I've got to, nobody knows what's going on with my body more than me.
Right.
I don't
Right.
care what education someone has. I know
Yes.
how that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's one of the big things that when I work with my clients, I'm their advocate, even with a medical doctor, because a lot of times what I run into is people are not willing to speak up because they're like, well, the doctor knows more. I'm like, but you live in your body,
Yes.
right? So if something feels off or medication doesn't make you feel right, and so it's just learning and helping people learn to just speak up and say, no, this doesn't feel right, and no, this isn't working.
Definitely, that's huge. I was in that same, kind of boat for a long time. Didn't speak up, didn't say anything. The last few years, I've had things where like, you don't want to do it that way because I promise you this is the result.
Yes.
Tried a good dozen times, and this is how it is every single time.
Yeah.
Then they have to go back and look at stuff and go, yeah, you're right. Let's do this instead.
Yeah. And, and it's funny because even when it comes to, because I still have the autoimmune disease, I still have to have like my blood drawn all the time. And there have been times when I've walked into a lab and I've told a phlebotomist, look, this is the best spot, do it here. This is the way to do it. And they're like, oh, I think I'm going to try it here. I'm like, no, really? It's not worth it because you're going to end up here anyway. And so they're like, oh, I'm going to try anyway. I'm like, all right. And they usually end up like, look, I'm telling you, my veins, I always tell everybody, God had a sense of humor when he gave me Hashimoto's because my veins are awful.
Yeah, I get it. I had blood drawn this morning, actually, because I'm still not near as regularly as, a couple of years ago, but still I need it every month. Like, it has to be done.
Yeah.
But it was a new person doing it, and she goes, right here in that part of your arm where it's totally normal. And I'm like,
yes.
Don't. Like, come lower down my arm, like right here, and you'll be golden.
See, I always have them go in my hands because you can even see in here, I have the best veins in my hand.
Yep.
But if you look in my arms, there is nothing. Like even when they put the tourniquet on, there is nothing. Like just look, let's just save us both. The 20 minutes it's going to take for you to fish, just hit it. We'll be done.
Go right here. It will get what you need.
And I'm like, but we got to do like 10 tubes. I'm like, trust me, they got it. We're good.
Like, this will be good right here. Just do it.
Yeah. And so that's one of those things about really that holistic is just understanding your body and how it works, and then being willing to just open your mouth and say something.
Yeah. So how does that, now I know you do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Like what are some of the things are kind of like, hey, I'm really good, helping people with this.
My nutrition certification is in autoimmune disorders. So that's really where my focus is. But I do like to, foot zoning is really one of my favorites. So if I'm not having an online conversation or those consultations, I'd much rather have somebody in my chair being zoned. That's my favorite.
So I'm less knowledgeable in that area, no doubt. I have you and several other friends that, kind of do that. They do foot zoning. And
yeah.
Honestly, I've heard it. I've heard, some descriptions here and there. But for me, I go, and I'm sure some other people out there still, what exactly does that do? Like, what is it? What does this look like?
Right. So some people even will compare it to reflexology, because what a lot of it is that your body is 100% mirrored on your feet. It's even mirrored on your hands. The feet are just the best place to access the body. And foot zoning is used to help balance your body out. So every day we're exposed to different toxins or stressors or anything that can throw your body out of balance, right? And so what a zone does is we go in and we just get everything moving. Your lymph nodes, the lymph system, getting it going, the circulatory system, just getting everything flowing so that your body can do what it does best and heal itself and function properly. So that's what a zone does. And I always tell people, if nothing else, it's an hour-long foot massage. Just sit back and enjoy. I might be doing a lot more than that, but it usually, I can hurt you. But I usually will tell you I'm doing this because I love you.
Right.
But it does. It makes a big difference because your body really, it just aids it in that detoxification and balancing back out.
And that's super important to like not have, all that going on where that's going to affect way more than what logically would just go, oh, I just feel terrible. But what does that, like, what else does that touch?
Well, because a lot of it is because we do have that overload. You talk about diet. Most of us eat the standard American diet. So we're not feeding it what it needs to replenish itself. So that ends up taxing your liver a lot more so it can't filter everything. So when you go in for a zone or any kind of detox, you're actually helping your liver to continue to do its job much better.
That's a big deal.
That is kind of a big deal. Yeah.
Just a little bit, right?
Yeah. It's kind of important if you want to keep, keeping up with things and functioning semi-regularly, right?
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt. Just like, there's so many things out there I wished I knew, previously, comparatively to what I've experienced over time. It's like, am I glad that I had the transplant and all these experiences? Yeah. And I don't look back at it and go, oh man, if I'd have done this, I wouldn't have had to go through all this. That's not going to do any good.
No.
Like, it won't benefit me at all. I'll just go, ugh.
Right. But if you know it, now you can move forward and do things better, right?
Right, exactly. Like I look at it and have I changed absolutely everything that I've done since I've had that, gigantic surgery that very few people ever get? No, I haven't changed everything that there is. Are there certain things I've focused on? Yes. It's absolutely necessary because, like I said, I just had my blood drawn today, and how stuff works. Now you can just go in here and go, oh, hey,
it's ready.
It tells you your results. Like, hey, this looks good. This looks good. I look at it and it's like, wow, my kidneys work better than your average 36-year-old male. Like, so much better that it's almost crazy to think.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, it's important to realize, I try to tell people it's okay. I'm not asking you to completely change everything overnight when I work with people, because that's impossible. I want you to succeed. So let's just pick something easy and let's start there. So they don't have to end up in the same position where you're at, or working with somebody who's diabetic. We don't want them to have an amputation. So let's see what we can do to make an adjustment, right? I mean, even for me, I have not done very well at handling my stress levels. And so I was drinking Dr. Pepper like you wouldn't believe. I'm like, okay, you know what? We're done. So I finally said no more Dr. Pepper. And I haven't had soda for a month. I'm like, nope, not going back.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I can't say I've, gotten to that level of being like, okay, I have nothing. But just, I think about, say, 5 years ago, it's like, goodness, the amount of things like that I was consuming is just through the roof.
Yeah.
Now it's like, I will have one during the day, like one. That's it.
Yeah. And I used to be able to do that. But I also recognize that I do have a little bit of an addiction problem. And so it's just better if I just stay away from it.
Oh, totally.
So I drink my water, and I have my little alkalinizing rod in there that alkalinizes my water. And so, yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, there's so many, you can't just focus on, okay, let's do everything overnight.
Yeah.
You can't.
No, and it's overwhelming. Yeah.
It'll be so overwhelming. Like, I remember a few years ago, I went in to get this ridiculous series of tests to get done to qualify to get the transplant.
Right.
So I go in, and you have to do a heart stress test. Normally, for people in that state, hey, your kidneys and pancreas are not working at all. So normally in that state, you look at the person and go, yeah, physically they don't look so good.
Yeah.
So they usually have to inject this, inject something, and it speeds up the person's heart rate. So they can take a look at it and go, okay, everything's good. I walked in and they went, you don't look like a normal person we have in here for this. I was like, yeah, I'm probably not. They're like, you think you could get on the treadmill to get your heart going? I was like, yeah, no. Because at that point, and even now, it's like, I'll go 20,000 plus steps in a day.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost normal. If I do 10,000 or less, I'm like, I feel lazy. Like, I didn't,
You were productive that day, right?
It was not productive. But, right. And that was not an overnight. Like, I could not possibly ask somebody to say, hey, I know you hit like 4,000 steps in a day. How about go to 20?
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
Not happening.
No, I mean, we talk about things like maybe adding a salad to a meal, or taking something out. If you like your desserts at night, maybe pick 2 nights a week that you could go without a dessert or something. So it's about baby steps and making it so that you can be successful at it, not feel overwhelmed and frustrated. And
there's so many ways to be frustrated.
Yeah, there's so many other things. Why add to it? And it kind of leads into the stress factor of things. We don't want to stress the body and tax it more than it already is. It's already overworked, overstressed. It's, a lot of people are going into adrenal fatigue. And so it really is just too taxing to do that to them.
Oh, for sure. So, I know you have people that work with you exclusively one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like from what you're saying. So what's like the starting point for them? Is it just making like one little change at a time, or what does that kind of look like?
So, yeah, I mean, usually what I will do, I always warn people when we do our first consultation, I'm going to send you a novel to fill out for me. So my wellness survey is very, very in-depth. I ask things that you probably don't get asked at a doctor's office. It's really in depth. It is a book that I go through, and so that when we sit down, I can look at exactly what's going on, because we'll have that conversation. You fill out that survey, and then we look at what is the best thing. So if it is maybe not necessarily changing the eating habits, maybe it's exercise. Maybe it's just throwing in. Because I always want people to move their lymph. The lymph system doesn't have a way to move itself. It doesn't have a pump. So the only way it moves is when we move our body. So if I notice that there's some lymph issues, I'll usually throw that in first, which is like, okay, if you can handle jumping on a trampoline for a minute, can you do that? Or dry brushing? And that'll help move the lymph system to start getting the body to detox and function. Or it might be looking at how their sleep is and addressing that. So it's really very individualized. I don't just say, okay, this is the first step. This is always the first step. It really just depends on what they come to me with.
Definitely. I mean, there's so many different, it's not even like it's, you've seen those apps where it's like, okay, it's like a randomizer and it picks it. Oh, there's way more choices than that.
Yeah.
In this situation, there's so many different, ways it's affecting people, because no two people are going to experience the same thing the same.
No.
No one's experiencing the exact same thing. It's be super individualized.
It is. And it can even be something as simple as, we can talk about being mindful when you're eating. Yeah. Instead of just inhaling, taking time to just pay attention to how you're eating and what you're eating and how it's making you feel. So yeah, it really is super individualized.
Oh, yeah. Like I wish years and years ago, now I could have had something like that, where it's like, no, I need this and this. Like, yeah, like that would have been such a big difference maker for me.
Yeah. And it's huge. And, and even now, people who are just coming into it and just finally starting on that journey and that path of healing, it's just totally a game changer. I always look at people and just, if you're sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, let's look and see what we can change to make you a little less sick and tired.
Yeah. I think it's that situation of you have to want things to change more than you want them to stay the same.
Yeah, it really is. And it is hard. It is hard work. And there are times when you do make the changes, you do go through a detox process. And so you may get the headaches. You may have things that hurt that didn't hurt before. But it's momentarily.
Yeah.
It may only be for a day or two, and then you'll notice a huge change in your energy and your ability to get things done.
Yeah. And I feel like sometimes that would be like, some people, if it's something like recent they're experiencing, then that's like they're like, oh, only a day? Okay, let's go. But then you get the people that have, say, experienced stuff for decades. Mm-hmm. I was in that boat. Like, it's almost to the point of you don't remember what feeling normal is like.
Right.
Then it comes and you're like, what? What is this energy I have?
Yeah. It's amazing the difference that that you can feel just from making those changes. And it's funny because when I went off the soda, I was expecting the major headaches, the caffeine withdrawals and everything, but it didn't happen.
Oh.
Yeah. So like, that must have been time.
It was time for this, for sure.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Like, so just thinking about that, like what else does this kind of look like for, I know you've had to have some awesome success stories.
I've helped a couple of people, and it really depends on what. It's so funny because it's so individualized. I have one, he was just a Foot Zone client, and I don't say just, but I mean that's all we really worked on, and he was struggling when he first came into me. He had a major surgery, and he was having a hard time absorbing nutrients because of the type of surgery he had. And to this day, his wife is always very much like, you saved him. And I think, well, no, I just did my job. He did that. He showed up and he made the effort. But he got to where he could eat, he could maintain what he was doing. And when we found out we were moving, I looked at her and I said, it's time for you to become a foot zoner. And she loves it. She did. And she absolutely loves it. And she's able to take care of him.
That's so cool.
And it's so fun. And they're still some of my favorite people because they're just so much fun. And I have another one who she's had a lot of health issues. And so we did a lot of just trying to look at what she was eating, what she was bringing in. And like she had a lot of infertility issues. There was a lot. And once we got things under control, she was feeling much better, felt like she could do things. She was able, in fact, they just had a baby, like, I think about a year ago.
Wow. Super cool.
Yeah.
Like we said earlier, it does things where results come that you go, dang, I wouldn't even have thought this was even possible.
Mm-hmm. And it's really just people taking charge. It's me giving tools and them using it.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things out there. Like we can't force people to do anything at all.
No.
We can guide them, direct them. Hey, this might really help you, but they're the ones that've got to just throw down and say, all right, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I'm making things better for me.
Yeah, the commitment definitely has to be there, but it is definitely worth it because it's amazing the change you can have even in a month. And the thing about it is, so here's a fascinating thing about the body that's very intriguing. So the body can it totally regenerates itself every 2 years. But the most amazing thing about it is that if you make changes, you can do, say you've experienced something for 20 years. For every month that you make a change, that takes that a year off of that. So it doesn't take 20 years to correct the poor behavior. It's a month instead of a year.
Wow.
So if you've been doing something for 5 or 10 years, it's probably going to take you 5 or 10 months to correct that and get back to where you were before.
Yeah, I hadn't really known that before. Like, this is the first time I'm kind of really hearing that and understanding it, and just thinking about it off the top of my head, not really have any like data or numbers, to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
But so I was diagnosed type 1 diabetic when I was 7. I was a kid, and dealt with it for years and years. And type 1 is you can't just control it by diet. It's like pancreas went, I'm done.
Yes.
So you must inject insulin into your body.
Right.
And no other way around it. And for a long time, I would give it, like 10 years. I was not great at handling it.
Mm-hmm.
Just wasn't. But then, you start getting news from doctors like, hey, your kidneys aren't doing so good either. Maybe you want to take control of some stuff. And then, just little things here and there, and even big things, happening that still would not have taken care of it on its own. Like, I have to take control of it.
Right.
I had a thing that you kind of attach to your arm.
Mm-hmm.
It'll just tell you what your blood sugar is. Just around the clock, and you just have to calibrate it it was like 3 or 4 days.
Gotcha.
Easy. And like my blood sugar had always been like super out of control for that 10 years. But I got that. I got a thing where I don't have to keep giving myself shots. I just push a button. Okay, deliver this much insulin, done. And it was probably a little bit under a year. So like 10 years, 10 months.
Mm-hmm.
Where it was like, ooh, wow, this is actually under control, in a good space. Almost to the point where when they said, okay, we can transplant both organs, almost to the point where I was like, I got this diabetes thing. What do I need the pancreas for? Like, I got it easy. They're like, yeah, but then you wouldn't have to do anything. And I was like, well, it sounds like it costs a lot more. Like, trust me, the amount that one of them costs, your insurance is going to cover both. Like, don't worry.
Right, right.
Let's do both.
Yes. Yeah. And you know, and you think about it, definitely not in your situation, but like in mine or an average situation, which actually costs more to not take care of your health and then have to pay for it down the road, or to reverse it now and not have it cost nearly as much.
Oh,
The
that's
investment is your time.
absolutely totally worth your time.
Yes.
It's worth your time because it will give you more time later.
Yeah, it will. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, how do people find you? Like, reach out to you?
So I do pretty much, I'm on Facebook and Instagram under 10 Circles, or my name, Stephanie Larrabee. And I also have a website that's 10circleswellness.com. So I try to keep it pretty fluid and pretty easy.
Yeah, that's pretty easy things to note. So we'll end up probably shortly after we're done. We can post that link.
Yeah.
So people can find you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Like, I seriously encourage anybody. Like, if you're having any of those struggles where you're like, I kind of want to get this taken care of, even in those situations where it's not like, oh man, I'm having just this major issue. It's more like, man, this is annoying. I want this to be done, so it doesn't become something major later.
Yes.
Reach out.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
Sure there's no doubt.
No, it's good. It's funny. The chiropractor yesterday was talking to my daughter, and he said, a lot of times people, they'll have something go wrong and they just kind of, I'm uncomfortable. All right, whatever. And then, it goes away, and then it comes back and like, I'm uncomfortable, and you kind of ignore it and it goes away. But after a while, it compounds on itself, and then you have really big problems. So it's better to take care of it when it's the little annoyance of, I'm kind of uncomfortable, but whatever, because it gets reversed a lot faster.
Yeah. And that's, you never know in that case what you may have prevented later on.
Yeah.
You probably don't want to know.
No.
You don't want to know what will end up.
We don't want to play in the what ifs. We want to say, let's get better.
I like to play in what if, but not in those circumstances.
Yes.
I want it a little bit different.
Yes.
Okay, so I hope everybody, if you feel like this is something that's going to help you, we're going to post the link. Also, you had Stephanie tagged on several different posts, so reach out to her. If someone does reach out to you, how quick do you usually?
I usually respond within probably an hour, so it doesn't take me long to respond to you.
That's awesome. Better than a lot of doctors' offices if you need to make a phone call.
Yeah.
So much better.
So much better. Very one-on-one and very personalized. That's for sure.
That is awesome. Stephanie, thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you for being here. And I know I've been seeing you got something coming up, right?
Yes. So in 2 weeks, just under 2 weeks, we're doing a self-care symposium, Thriving Through the Holidays. My co-host and I decided that it would be a great time to help people be able to get through the holidays without the chaos and the stress and be able to start the new year off fresh. So that will be the 15th through the 19th.
Sweet. That's like right before people are going to go, ah.
Yes. And we have some amazing presenters. It's going to be fantastic.
Awesome. So if we're interested in that, where do we find that on your website?
It is not on the website yet, but Shelly and I are doing a lot of posts. Tickets actually go on sale on Monday.
Sweet.
So find me on Facebook and follow me and you'll know all about it.
Awesome. So at the very least, start to follow Stephanie.
Yes.
You'll figure this out.
Okay. Definitely.
Be super stressed for the holidays because it's already enough.
It is.
Already enough. Stephanie, again, thank you. I can't even express how much I appreciate you being here. Um, yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And if you're watching, and we're not live, just like comment, say, hey, I'm watching the replay, and tell us where you're from so we can know that.
Yeah. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Stephanie. And we'll see everybody next time on Studio Spotlight 9. See you, everybody.